Hello and welcome to Too Fast, Too Forever. There's all kinds of family. We chose this one. This is episode 239, Fast 5, Lap 11. I'm Joey Lewandowski.
I'm Joe too, and this episode's brought to you by Porto Seguro, Brazil. Porto Seguro was founded in 1945 under the name Porto Seguro Company de Seguro Giras by a group of executives. Shout out to Porto Seguro, Brazil.
Well, shout out to Porto Seguro, Brazil, and welcome to Too Fast, Too Forever. After the break, we'll be talking about Fast 5. But Joe, first up, extracurricular activities. What have you been up to in the last week?
This weekend, I went to go visit my parents, not Rachel's parents, because we went to go visit them last weekend.
2 weekends in a row of parents. Mm-hmm.
Plenty of family, hashtag
family,
going around. We had a really cool weekend. It was good seeing them. I just wanted to hang out with them and see them because I haven't in a little bit, like a couple months now. But I like to do fun time things around their house. So we got my dad a new 70-inch TV and mounted it to the wall.
Cool.
He's very stoked, right? This is awesome. Got them some other stuff, put in their air conditioners and stuff like that, gentle stuff. But the cool thing we did this weekend is Rachel finally got to go to see PNC Park. She got to go to her first Pirates game, which they won.
Well, so you went to the game, but you did not go to the game where they got no hit and won, right? You went to a different game.
Yes. So it was funny. We went Saturday night to the game, and it was a beautiful night in Pittsburgh. The wind was blowing off the river, so it was
cool.
It was really nice and cool. We were just relaxed. It was me, my parents, and a couple of the kids that work for them at the store. We had a little bit of a crew. Oh, I didn't send you the video. I have to send you this great video of one of them recording us singing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game" in the 7th-inning stretch. It's hilarious. Yeah, it was just us, and we were sitting there, and we were sitting in the back of the third baseline. So we were we had it's the Pirates. It's now kind of into the season. And they were playing the Reds, a team that also is not very good.
Yeah, they're two of the worst teams in baseball.
Pretty much the two worst teams in baseball. So, as beautiful as PNC Park is, it was kind of calm for even a Saturday night game. So, there was supposed to be rain. That was part of it too. There was calls for rain. So,
gotcha.
It was,
okay.
Yeah. So I think that hampered it, but not it's two of the worst teams in baseball, right? So it wasn't that imposing. But it actually turned out the weather was great and stuff. So we had we were sitting at the third baseline, and my dad knows a guy that works in that section. So he was like, "You can sit here." And we're sitting at the very back row of that. So we had 3-4 rows to ourselves essentially. It was a lot of fun, and the Pirates won. So Rachel got to see that. Then the rest of the weekend we just hung out and did very, very gentle things with my parents, and nothing super crazy. Oh, and the Penguins fucking lost. So yes. I watched them squander a 3-1 series lead.
Yeah, but Crosby got hurt in Game 5, then was out for the rest of the series, right? So
yes, no, he was out. He was out for Game 6, and there's
he's back for 7.
He was back for 7, but there was reports that upper management held him out of Game 6 for concussion reasons, even though he was cleared and wanted to play. But that's just rumors. And then in Game 6, we were up with a minute left. There was a puck. It hits the goalie's shoulder, flips up over his head, and goes into the net with 30 seconds left. So that's how we lose the tie in Game 6. We blew leads in all 3 games, and then in Game 7, we're playing in overtime, and there's a rule that says now in hockey, if you lose your helmet, you either have to pick up the helmet and put it back on or go to the bench. The guy didn't do that. We gave up a penalty because of that.
Oh, okay.
And so they're on the power play, and then with 2 seconds left of the power play in overtime Game 7, the Rangers score. So, I'm not making excuses because you should close out a 3-1 series lead, right? By any means necessary.
Mm-hmm.
You should win. It's really hard to win 3 games in a row in hockey.
In any sport, yeah.
In any sport, even in baseball, a really great team, on a 3-game stretch, sometimes they lose one, right? The sweep isn't guaranteed. So you should win, but they didn't. And I'm like, okay, well then this is your fault. I don't feel bad about it. There was like people making excuses and stuff like that. But I'm like, if you're up 3-1, you should win, and if you don't, you sucked. So deal with
Yep.
it.
Yep.
But okay, sorry. That was my weekend. How about you, brother?
I have not done a ton. I've been catching up on TV, and then I've done 3 other podcasts in the last week. So I've
Ooh,
been doing the accoutrement for that. So we did an episode about The Sixth Sense for 1999, the podcast,
cool.
on Sunday. So I watched and recorded about that. And then we did 2 Lotto pods. So I finished 2 books in the last week, one of which was the one that Bob and I went to the reading in New York. We got the book there, and so we read that, and we just did an episode about that. So that was a
Oh,
great
really
book.
cool. Yeah, nice.
But yeah, I have not done a ton. It's just been like sort of nice weather out here, so I've been like going on walks, like I normally do, or whatever. But just
Hmm.
like just hanging around, catching up on some podcasts and TV and whatever. But nothing super exciting. I got stuff coming up, and then a big thing that I don't know if I've mentioned or not, but we'll get to the big thing, next episode probably. But
Yeah, we
yeah,
might.
I think that's about it. We have a Patreon page on the show, toofast2forever.com. Shout out to Cassie Wilson, Ben Milliman, Nick Burris, Alex Ellen, and Justin Kleinman, Brian Rodriguez of High School Slumber Party,
Ooh,
Haley Gerbies, Wes Hampton, Jerry Robinson, Dan the Duke, Hayden, Renato Di Donato, Michael McGann, Lane Middleton, Lindsay Lewandowski, Nate Milton of the Kings of Sport, Jason Rainey, and Jessica Collins, a.k.a. Montez.
Montez.
Thank you all for supporting us at the $5 a month level or above. If you want to get in on the fun, bonus episodes, early access to episodes, supporting us just because you like the show, toofast2forever.com, please and thank you. And we also have an email address, family@cageclub.me. And no emails today, but hopefully we'll get some emails for next time. There's some stuff that we were getting on Twitter that I'll get to in the On the Streets segment now. But Joe, On the Streets, news about the Fast and Furious, what have you seen in the last week? Anything of note that you have has caught your eye?
I just posted something cool on the social media that is kind of a crossover, as at least Justin Kleinman knows. Some overlap that Jason Momoa just got in trouble because he was in Rome for Fast X
Mm-hmm.
and took like a picture real big in the Sistine Chapel, which I don't know if you know is like a giant faux pas. There's all kinds of signs that say, "Please do not take any pictures here." So,
Whoops.
so he posted a picture on Instagram of like him with, I think, his family, kind of, or like, I don't know, just some other people. He posted the picture of a place that you're like, don't take pictures of this, right? So that was pretty funny. But that's like the most adjacent news, and it's adjacent because it's like kind of travel-y news. I found it on the travel blogs. I game airline miles, so it was found there. So my worlds are colliding once again as usual.
Well, a friend of the show, Melissa Lynham, is on vacation right now with her husband in Italy, and so
Oh,
she
cool,
said
nice.
like they're filming over there. So she knows where they're filming. I think she's going to get to
Oh,
Rome
cool.
tomorrow as we record this. So if she gets any updates or anything, she will let us know.
Very cool. That's awesome. We got teams on the streets here.
Street teams, yep. Mm-hmm. But we also have news from over there that there was the video that Vin shared of him and Momoa, and then they're lying around on the lavender color car.
Rolling
Lavender looked
around.
good.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Different responsibilities, different length of the relationship, but this feels like the kind of video that Vin thought he was doing with Justin Lin, because Momoa's having a blast. He's just like, hey man, day one, this is going to be good. We're here. I'm having a good time. He's like laying around in the car. It's all good. And then when we saw that Justin Lin one a while ago, which is like, ooh, like this is not
Yeah.
what you think it is, right?
I saw the Jason Momoa rolling around in the purple car one. I watched it without audio though, so I didn't hear what was happening.
They're just
But
like it's the same question. It's just like how you feeling. He's like I'm feeling good, man. Day one, and then he's like lavender look good is what he says.
yeah, it looked like a fun time bro down. They both seemed excited, so I was assuming it was something along these lines. That
Yes.
makes a lot of sense.
The other Momoa news is that he is now reportedly dating Isa Gonzalez,
I
Madam
heard.
M.
I
So that
heard.
is, I posted on our social media. I'm like, does this confirm her for the main franchise? Because Hobbs and Shaw, never the twain shall meet, basically. But if her boyfriend's in there and she's in the Fastiverse, let's hook that up
Yeah, please. I want to see some. I mean, I think Jason Momoa is a good character. I mean, we don't know his character yet, but I think Jason Momoa is a good actor to
for
bridge the
sure.
gap, right?
Yep,
Like,
yep.
he's an obvious choice, like a new guy in Fast 10, but also could port over to Hobbs and Shaw really easily. I'm about it. I like Jason Momoa, so easy sell for me.
The other Fast X news is that Alan Ritchson, who plays Jack Reacher, the new Jack Reacher on the Amazon Prime show, the
Oh
guy who
yeah.
like looks like Jack Reacher as opposed because like in the novels, he's like this huge hulking dude with like hands the size of dinner plates, I think is how it's described.
Oh,
And so in the
I didn't know
movies with
that.
Tom Cruise, it's like, yeah, Tom Cruise is awesome and like everyone is like thankfully, going nuts for Top Gun Maverick and Mission Impossible. Like everything, like this has been a great couple of weeks for Tom Cruise news if you love his movies because I cannot wait for Top Gun Maverick. It's going to be so good. But
Was it you said it, or was it Aaron Newworth who said like Top Gun Maverick might be better than the original Top Gun?
I,
I saw somebody
I've
tweet
I've
it.
seen a bunch of people say that. I've retweeted some of that
Wow,
stuff. Yeah, man, it's.
that's pretty crazy. I love the first Top like.
Oh, so my friend, and this is something I want to put out there, and I gave him shit for it, but my friend who was like very upset that he couldn't get opening night movie tickets, he's like, actually, I want to get the verbatim because I was so confused by this.
I love that there's just like massive slander of one of your friends about this movie tickets thing. I don't.
Well, it's a running joke
We
for
never
you. Like
told the.
I forgot about it, but then you're like,
I don't think we ever told this. Did we ever like tell? Can we tell like a truncated version of the story that like that somehow you became in charge of ordering like letting him
I
know
let
that.
him know. I was like, "Hey, movie tickets are on sale." He waited too long to do it. He was in a meeting. He responded like 4 hours later and was upset that he couldn't get tickets to whatever he wanted to see. And I'm just like, "Hey, man, I told you when I was buying
You were
tickets."
doing a favor too,
Yeah,
which is funny. So anytime a movie comes out and Joey tells me that the tickets are on sale, I grumpily respond to him that I didn't get opening night tickets and this is
right.
his fault.
So my friend says, "I watched Top Gun earlier. I think I've only seen it once or twice." I said, "Yeah, it's great." He says, "Would you call it a cult classic?" And
Yes.
Bob was like, "No, no, 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 no. You're wrong. It's
It's
not
just
a
like a
cult classic.
blockbuster.
It's an enormous movie. It's one of the
Yeah,
10 biggest
that's
movies of
fair.
the 80s."
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so yes, it's okay. I get it. It's not a cult classic because everybody's seen it.
Yes. I'm like, it's what made Tom Cruise an action star. It's one of the biggest
Yeah,
movies
yeah,
of the
yeah.
80s. I was just like, how do you not know? He's like, well, it's one of those things where like I've been there before where it's like I don't know the historical context of like certain movies because like I saw them
Yeah.
once way after the fact. And so like especially like nostalgia plays, it's like I don't know, like I know that you grew up with this, it means a lot to you, but like I saw it for the first time when I was like 28 or whatever, and like who cares, right? But to me, like Top Gun, like even if you haven't seen it, like people know Top Gun's big. Like it's like memed and it's like
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's enormous. So when he was like it's a cult classic, I was like, what? How did? No, it's huge. It's just a classic. It's a great.
That's
So I don't know.
fair. Makes sense. Okay. I use the term cult classic wrong all the time to just mean like
Yeah,
it's
cult classic and cameo, the two things that you can't figure out.
yes, yes, yes. My definition was wrong, but the idea is correct.
Yeah, no, it's a classic. Half of it's
It
right.
is, yeah.
But cult classic is like a thing that was not big in the time that has grown to
Yes, I
whatever
get it.
because of DVD sales or just word of mouth or whatever after the fact.
Yeah, like
But
it was hated when it came out, but then
yes,
became bigger, and people love it now. Yes,
correct.
makes sense. But Top Gun is so big that like I think maybe Rachel hadn't seen it, and like her mom was visiting, and I was like, "Oh, like whatever, we should watch Top Gun." And Rachel's mom's like, "I love Top Gun." Like like
Right.
I can count on one hand the type like the number of movies. Like she just doesn't watch movies. Like she'll
Oh,
watch TV shows. What?
speaking of, this is something I forgot until I just now that you said that my dad saw because he follows either Cage Club or Too Fast or something on Instagram. He's like Thunderbolt and Lightfoot came out the year that me and your mother met, and that was one of the first movies we saw together.
What? That's really
Yeah.
cool.
He's like, thanks
That's
for the memory. So I was like, yeah, man, great movie.
that's funny, and because I went home and was talking to my dad, and I was like telling him that there's like a '50s Chevy and a Plymouth Fury in this movie, and he was like, "Are you kidding me? Can I see pictures of it?" And like he was like, "Really? Both my cars are in this movie?" I was like, "You love Clint Eastwood? You've never seen this one?" He's like, "No, I've never seen it." I was like, "Wow! Like what a
Yeah,
chance!" Yeah. So now that we set up his new TV, hopefully he can Pluto it because that's where we had it for free, right?
yeah, Pluto or Prime, either way.
Oh yeah, 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 Prime. Cool. I can.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he can sit through a movie either, but
Yeah.
hopefully he can. That's cool though. Your mom and dad went on a date to go see Thunderbolt and Lightfoot.
Yeah, because they
That's
got
one of
married
the.
in '76, so I guess they met in '74 when this came out, and so one of the first movies they saw, not the first movie, but pretty
That's
cool.
That's really cool. Good job, Dad.
Yeah.
Awesome. I want to know your mom's take on it. If she like even remember, because this could be like a thing where she's like, "Yeah, I remember the date," but like, or like, "I remember the
Yeah, I don't
movie."
know. I
But I'm
wonder.
curious now if she's like, "Oh yeah, that was a good movie," or is she because like it kind of seems like a guy's kind of movie, right? So I think your dad
For sure.
suggested that one. I don't think that she was like the one picking Thunderbolt and Lightfoot to go see it with your dad on an early date.
Probably not.
Yeah.
I don't know. So yes, so Jack Reacher, Alan Richson, the new Jack Reacher in Fast and Furious. I would imagine this has to be probably our last casting note, but I don't know. There's just how
They're
many parts?
adding
How
too
many
many
parts?
people. They're adding so many people. And we talk about this over and over again that there's like such a small amount of screen time available,
Yeah,
even in 3 hours, to showcase this many people. Like, we can't just keep adding actors, guys. Like, we can't.
I
I
don't
don't know
know.
what they're gonna do, unless like the movie opens with like just like six people dying.
I mean, there's also the chance that like it's in like there's another time zone or time era, like you know what I mean, like with the flashback where they have like six new people that are all like some, like they did in F9.
So they're playing a character that we already know, but it's just a different person of it. Like he could be
Right.
like Dom's dad again at a different point in his
I
life
mean,
or
there's
something.
no indication of that, but like that would at least explain why they cast like five new. Like, how is Brie Larson? How is Jason Momoa? How is Alan Richson? And there's other people too, right? Like, there's so many. There's so many people. So
I don't think you can. I don't think you can let Brie Larson be like a flashback
no, no, no,
character.
no. I don't think so. But
But she did just say like I want to join, and then and then Vin was like, "Yeah, fuck it, Captain America. I mean, Captain Marvel's in the movie now,
yep,
so maybe she does play a background. But like this is like the Helen Mirren thing, right? Like if you get Helen Mirren, like you're not gonna be like, okay, she gets one scene. You're like, fuck it, stay as long
right,
as you want. We'll do
yep.
whatever you want.
Yep. And the other thing I want to say, actually, also about Thunderbolt and Lightfoot, was that we were talking about. My mom says she vaguely remembers it a long time ago.
Yeah, that's
Not
what I
really.
imagined.
Yeah,
Like, yeah,
it's like that's 50 years ago, right? So like it's crazy. Almost 50 years, like 48 years ago. But
Jesus.
the other thing we were talking about, we were like, have we ever seen a Clint Eastwood movie on the network? And I was like, no, I don't think so. But we totally forgot that Scott Eastwood, his son, is in Fate of the Furious. So like, there's an Eastwood connection, fast connection that we just completely, like, we talked about Clint Eastwood for, an hour and a half last week and didn't even remember that his son is in these movies. So,
Can I tell you a
whoops.
secret?
What?
I did not know Scott Eastwood was Clint Eastwood's son
Yeah, man.
until
Nepo
like
baby.
right now.
There's also his daughter is also. I'm gonna see if I can remember her name without looking it up. As soon as I see it, I'm gonna be Francesca Eastwood is also an actress. There's a bunch of Eastwoods, but like Scott Eastwood, fairly big name. Francesca Eastwood has
Yeah,
been in like a couple horror movies that I've seen.
I just never made the connection. I mean, I like it's fucking obvious now, but like I never made the connection. And he fucking looks like him too. Weird. Okay, sorry.
There was an interview because there's like a new Skarsgård, like this is like a couple months ago. This new Skarsgård actor, and they're like, "Oh, are you related to?" And he's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Believe it or not, like the name is not that common. Like it's not like a name that like everybody has. So like when there's a new Skarsgård actor, it's like it's one of us. So it's just kind of funny that like Eastwood. There's probably a bunch of Eastwoods, but like, and it's like no, they're all related too. So
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Hollywood kind of a lot of things run like that. Sports, like when
sure,
you see some guy and you're like, is he his son? Yeah, yeah, we're old
yep,
enough. He's his son. Yep, that's how it
yeah.
works.
Joe is with all this casting news is Dwayne Johnson in Fast 10
No, but Forrest Whitaker might be.
because Forrest Whitaker, for some reason, in Young Rock.
Yeah, do you like my segue?
I did. I loved it. So, okay. So, so the episode of Young Rock that we just watched,
Yes.
the current day thing is he's going for lunch with a friend he's
An
met
old
every
friend.
year.
Yeah.
And you're like, who is this? Like, I was like, I don't know who this is going to be, but I thought like it might be like a family member, like,
I
like,
definitely did. I thought it was going to be like one of the Samoans
hmm.
or maybe even like his dad as like a reveal at the end, right?
I also thought there was a chance that it could have been Julian, the bully, that this was like some kind of like long
Same.
con way to drum it up.
Same. Yeah.
And then at the end of this episode, the camera turns around and it's Forrest Whitaker as himself, and it's just like I have no idea what they even talked about because I just like I spent the entire time like scratching my head, like why is this happening? Not that it's a bad thing, not that I dislike Forrest Whitaker. I'm just like,
No. Yeah.
why? What?
It's very out there. Like it was just like way in left field because like I did not imagine, like, there's no hint that it's going to be Forrest Whitaker, which I guess is like part of the surprise, but also it doesn't make sense why it's Forrest Whitaker. And pretty much all Forrest Whitaker said was like, you need to deal with the bully Julian head on. I have some phone numbers. I'll make a call.
It's so weird. And like, I was like, did I miss something? And I don't think it's like, I watch this show. Like, I really pay attention to most things that I watch.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm not like on my phone, but like, especially for this, I'm like taking notes and things. But I'm like, did I miss anything with Forrest Whitaker? And I don't think that I did. I'm just like, I
No,
don't
you didn't.
understand.
At least by my accounts, because I watched too, and I was
Yeah.
also paying attention. You did. There was no hint that it was going to be Forrest Whitaker. It was like a constant, like, vague motion of an old friend, and I thought at least it had to be a wrestler, right?
Yeah, but no, just an actor, just Forrest Whitaker as himself. I'm like, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
that's just how it ended.
But season 2, episode 10, Rocky's Code. This is a high school Dewey episode, but once again, mostly about the dad, mostly about Rocky Johnson.
Yeah, we gushed over him last weekend. Another great episode by Rock's dad, Rocky
Hmm.
Johnson, the actor. And this episode got way heavier than I thought it would, based on where it was like taking us through the episode. It was a middle Dewey episode.
Yep.
There was lots of Macho Man in this episode, which,
Snapping into his first Slim Jim.
yes, that was the line. When it happened, I was like, Rachel, look, it's like, he's like, look, he found his first Slim Jim. But I forgot that it was snap into a Slim Jim. That was the
Yeah.
line. Yeah, the
It's
tag.
really, it's like the equivalent of Han Solo winning the Millennium Falcon. It's Macho Man Randy Savage in Sears being gifted a pack of Slim Jims so he gets the hell out of the store because he's being obnoxious. It's like, yeah, man. Like, it's probably not how it happened, but I still love that. I think it's really funny.
Yeah, there was like a whole story arc of like Macho Man comes back to Nashville where they are right now, to open a Sears, and like he wants to hang out with the Rock's dad because like they're just like, catching up and stuff like that. But then were they trying to insinuate that him like walking into that telephone pole made him do that, or was Macho Man just like hanging out in Sears because he's just Macho Man and this is what he wanted to do?
I think it's just that he's just Macho Man. Like I don't think that like he got brain damage in this episode. Like I think it's probably just like Macho Man just being like, "Hey man, I love all things," but maybe not. I don't know. But it's funny either way.
It's hilarious either way. So yeah, so he gets like asked to, cut the ribbon for a new Sears in Nashville, and he's like really into it like the night that he cuts the ribbon, and they're like, "Okay, like does he work here?" Like some girl comes up to the
Yep.
manager is like, "Does Macho Man work here?" And he's like, "No." And then like he comes back the next day and is like also like demoing products and just walking around Sears, and the guy's like, we can't pay you for this, to be like, get the fuck out. And he's like, oh no, 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 this is like my honor. Like
Yep.
this is a vacation for me. I love working at Sears. And he's like, well, you can't work here because you don't work here. So,
Right.
yeah, great. It really cracked me up. I laughed a lot, and then we get the Slim Jim thing. It was a lot of fun.
Which is nice because, like you said, it goes at a heavy place, and this is about like racism in small town America,
Oh
and
yeah,
about the racism that a professional wrestler or aspire like he's a professional wrestler, just not WWF, had to deal with. Like he's all excited. Rocky's all excited because he has this new promoter that
in
like he gets
town.
paid
That's
double.
gonna pay. Yeah, that's gonna pay a lot. He has a lot of money. He's
He's
like,
got like
oh
a
man,
private dressing room, private
oh
bathroom.
yeah.
He's like, this is it. And then the guy's like, cool. So you're gonna eat these fried chicken and waffles, and like this is how you're gonna do it. He's just like,
Watermelon, fried chicken,
fried
and
chicken and
watermelon.
watermelon, and this is what you're
It's
gonna do.
like,
And it's just like,
oh, I knew it
no.
was gonna break bad, but I was trying to figure out how. Right, like it had the impending sense of doom situation going on, and I'm like, how is this gonna break bad? And then it was just like racism, and I was like,
Yep.
oh,
Hmm.
yeah, that's right, definitely that.
And they even set it up because they're like, we it's an under 1,000 town. That means it's the duck town. He's like, they're not friendly to black people. So like he sets it up. He knows what's coming, right? And so, it was nice to see that. Like obviously, not the racism wasn't nice to see, but it was
Yeah,
nice to see
yeah.
that Rocky not only knew what to do, but did it right and like was just
Taught
like,
his
hey man,
son, did it in
yep,
front of his son, which was awesome.
mm-hmm,
His own self-respect, his own morals, at a time where like the guy was saying, like, other people don't have a problem with it. You know what I
yep,
mean? Like
yep.
they needed money, everything. It was awesome, and it was just like, for a show that's super light most of the time, and like a lot of the problems are just like family stuff.
Mm-hmm.
This episode I thought was like, oh wow, and they just hit it head on, and it worked really well. So.
And I think that was he. He pays it forward. He gives the waitress like 100. She's like, oh, I'm a big fan. The food's on me. And he's like, no, man, just take this. And he gives her $100 bill. And so he's just like, just keep rooting for me. So it's just all
Yeah,
the way around.
and he's like, you gotta launder that good racism money through the
Yeah,
system, which is awesome. That's really, really cool. A good way to look at it. Awesome. That's like such a cool thing when you see a parent or an adult teach a child a very good lesson in a way without being like, hey, son, this is what we do in this
right.
situation, right? Like, just do with action. And he handled it very gracefully for how bad it was. And
Because
that's
there's
awesome.
probably another version of like maybe it's like when with Rocky with young Dewey where he like actually does the whole thing that the promoter wants and like goes home just like sometimes you have to play by their rules like it's not good or whatever, right? But like this is a Rocky like later in his career knows what's up and is able to show through action like this is how you handle it, right?
Yep.
So
Yeah, it was
yeah.
awesome.
Any other notes about Rocky's code?
No, it was another good episode, but again, like I'm sick of them fucking dragging out the Julian thing. I get that this is like the through line of the season, and like that's gonna be the big climax at the end. But
Yeah,
I'm
because next week is the finale.
oh, is it?
Yeah.
Hopefully, we get some closure on that. I'm sick of them just like hinting at it at the end of a bunch of episodes.
Yeah,
It
because
just
it's weird that you're not wrong when you say it's a through line, but like it's really an afterthought. Like it's not like he's
right.
even
That's
in
what
all
I'm
these
saying.
episodes.
Yeah, it doesn't like actually influence anything. It just like they just like mention it once an episode for no reason. So yeah, I don't. Yeah, that's. I think that's my problem with it. I think you totally summed it up. That I have to describe it as a through line, but it's not actually a through line. It's just a mention
Yeah,
once an
because it's
episode.
like because the through line, just like in season one, is he's running for president, but now there's like this bully or this guy coming back from or whatever, and it's like, yeah, cool. Like there's probably stuff you could do with this. I don't know if it's a full season thing, but they're just like, he's still around. What do you want to do about it? And she's like, yeah, you guys take care of it. And then like he literally just leaves. Like, oh, okay,
Yeah, over and over again. It's like you still around, and you're like, we know. I was like,
yep.
okay, cool.
Ay, ay, ay. All right, the last thing to do before we take a break is to talk about the Too Fast, Too Furious minute 62, a minute I called help.
This south. Hold that.
Get it off me! I'll forget it ever happened!
Did you know that your average rat can chew through a steel drain pipe? You see, you have nothing to worry about when he's screaming, detective. It's when he goes quiet that it goes to work.
Stop it! Stop it! Stop it! Jesus, stupid! Stop it now!
You're in charge of the units that are watching my properties, huh? What I want is I want a 15-minute window where everybody, and I mean everybody, disappears. You hear me? What?
I can't do it!
Can't? Okay.
Do it!
Monica, come here.
Help! Help!
Shut him up. Shut him up.
So in this minute, Carter Verone puts the rat on Detective Whitworth's chest and covers it with a bucket. Roberto holds the bucket down as Carter heats the bucket with a blowtorch. Carter asks for a 15-minute window where all police stop watching his properties. Whitworth says he can't make that happen. Carter returns to heating up the bucket while Monica Fuentes covers Whitworth's mouth as the minute ends. I don't want to be mean to this scene or to this movie, but I don't want to keep saying the same thing over and over again, but like I can't wait till we're done with this rat scene.
I'm very much in agreement. As much as it looks like there's something that exists here, this is a very, very boring back room of a nightclub. There's really not much there. So, like, the rat scene is interesting, I guess, but we have this discussion a lot, like, I'm like, oh, there's a bunch of movies that I can watch over and over again. You're like, after the first time, I kind of got it. The rat scene is definitely one of those things.
Yeah. And like what I think what's annoying for our sakes here is that Roman and Brian are just like sitting on the couch squirming and like no one's moving. There's not like fun things to do in the background. It's just like everything's in Carter. He's the only one really doing anything. He's the only one moving. And like he's just talking and like being weird and kind of psychopathy, but like we've already covered that. It's just like if Brian and Roman were like doing things, it'd be like, okay, there's something going on. But here, it's just like we're just watching them watch him.
Yeah, and he doesn't even, like, employ them to hold this guy down here. He
Nope.
already has two henchmen. Monica just has to watch from the side too, kind of disgusted but can't like break. Nobody's there to confront him about doing this, right? It's just him versus the thing, and then everybody else just has to like awkwardly watch.
Yep.
So I get it, and I get that that's kind of imposing and weird that they have to like he's like forcing them to watch him do this kind of torture-y thing, but in minute by minute, like watching it over and over again, it's not really interesting.
I was thinking that like a classic Too Fast trivia question would be when Carter is torturing Rat Cop, who does what? Like, you know, remember at the end of the first movie, we're like,
Yeah, he
one
holds
of them
left
holds,
hand, he holds right
yeah,
hand.
and who holds the mouth, right? And I'm just like, that we don't want to do that. But
No, definitely not.
because there's nothing really, is there anything else to talk about in this minute? Because like, there's no new clothing, there's no cars, but what you got?
The look on Monica's face was interesting. I think she did really good selling that she's like disgusted but has to contain it.
Yep.
You know, so I was like, oh, good face acting. That's pretty awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to find like the torch, like what kind of torch it was. I'm unsure. I think it's just like a normal blue benzomatic, but like you can't read anything on it.
Yep.
There's almost a shot of the champagne bottle, so I can figure out what champagne it is in the background, but I can't. And then, you know, you got like the ice bucket, which is just like either aluminum or stainless or galvanized and shiny ice bucket that he puts on the thing.
Galvanized Godot.
That would be a great name for your ice bucket, right? I have like a Penguins one like right in my kitchen. Maybe I'll name it Galvanized Godot. That's
Sure.
fun.
Yeah.
The only like really really interesting thing that I saw in this minute is I totally forgot that we get an in the bucket shot of the rat.
It's pretty cool.
It's so weird. It feels like a 90s music video because it's shot in like low up and like kind of fisheye because it's like in a bucket. Weird, but yes. Did we need that? Like, why do we have that? And like, whose stomach was it on? How did they get the camera in there? So like, so many questions.
No answers.
Yeah, this isn't GoPro times, right? So you had to have like a small enough camera to be in there. Yeah, other than that, there's nothing super interesting in this minute. As like much as it should be, right? Like it feels like it should be like, oh, this is very fascinating. And it's
Yeah, it should be, but it's not, unfortunately, which is
Yeah.
a bummer. So the
Yes.
question that I have here, and I don't love it, but I spent
I
time
like
thinking
it.
about this.
I like it. I actually really do like it. Like I like it a lot. So if you
So I have
don't
three answers.
love
If you
it,
want to add more, we can. But what does Carter Verone say the quote average rat can chew through? The answer is a steel drain pipe. But I was also like a metal cage kind of makes sense. I was like, ooh, the human rib cage. So we have a couple different cages to sort of throw it off. But is there another answer you want to have here? Just want to have three answers here.
I would put like a stainless or like galvanized metal ice bucket.
A galvanized
the
bucket,
bucket's
a
in the
metal
scene.
cage.
Yeah.
Yep. Perfect. Okay, cool. So minute 62, help. What does Carter Verone say the average rat can chew through? And the answer is a steel drain pipe, which is
Is that
crazy.
fucking real? That doesn't sound real at all.
I don't know. I don't really trust Carter, but also maybe he knows. I don't know.
Yeah, like rat teeth. I don't know if they can go through steel drain and it's like rounded on the. I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know. All right, Joe, let's take a break and let's come back and let's talk about Fast Five.
Ooh. Welcome back to Too Fast, Too Forever. This is episode number 239, Fast 5. This episode is brought to you by Porto Seguro. Among the business of the group, it is highlighted for its consortium of real estate, automobiles, province, investments, financing, credit cards, protection, and monitoring. Shout out to Porto Seguro.
Well, shout out to Porto Seguro and welcome back to Too Fast, Too Forever. With us tonight, we have a culture and entertainment journalist, Grant Rindner. Hello, Grant.
Hey guys, thanks for having me on the show.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks, bud.
Now, I don't remember. Usually I'm better at my note keeping as to something our guests tweet or write about or post about or something leads us to them. So, you did something with the Fast and Furious. I don't know what that is because my record keeping fell apart here apparently, but have you written about Fast and Furious professionally or you just tweet about them vigorously? Like, what is your history with these movies, with this franchise?
I believe that the reason that you guys contacted me was I had written something for, I write a lot for GQ, and I had written something for them. There was a fairly comprehensive breakdown of the Vin versus Dwayne
Yes.
Yes.
feud.
Yes.
Because it was when all those magazine articles were coming out, and The Rock did like the Rolling Stone cover and all that sort of stuff.
It's that feud is the gift that keeps on giving, if you want to think about it like a positive. Like, it's funny to watch this movie in particular, and like,
Yes.
and the way that The Rock is sort of classified as the villain in multiple ways.
Right.
Which is like, even from the beginning, there was bad blood between the characters and maybe the actors or whoever, right? But like, I don't know, man, it's wild.
And it's funny because, granted, I haven't seen every film in The Rock's CV, but I've seen a lot of them. I can't think of another example where he's kind of meant to be sinister. And like, he's so hulking, he's so intense. And I love that they gave him the stupid little beard. I think that was like a terrific touch.
Was this an assignment that you like went after, or were you just tasked this? Like, what was your history with like the franchise before? Was this like, oh, this is in my wheelhouse, I can do this, or was it something just like, hey, go figure this out?
So honestly, I was a little bit late to the Fast and Furious lifestyle in general.
Okay.
I got really into it in 2019 when like a friend took me when a friend took me to see Hobbs and Shaw, and I kind of thought, okay, I'm not like a huge action movie guy normally, and I was like, oh, this is gonna be kind of goofy and over the top, and it's David Leitch, whose other movies I like, and then it just turned out to be, so much more over the top and just sort of like gleeful, and I had a great time. Last year, I dated someone who was really into them and seen all of them multiple times, and so she kind of, I guess I watched the first time, she rewatched like 4 or 5 of them that I'd never seen. As far as this goes, I was commissioned to write it by an editor of mine, but frankly, I would have pitched it. I mean, this is something that I would love to do, like actual reporting around, if you could get any of the figures to talk, but that's, easier said than done unless you're going to give them cover stories, which is not something I have the power to.
Well, and that's the fascinating.
That's the second time we've heard that, actually.
Yeah, there's somebody else who was going to interview. They didn't say who, but let's just pretend
participants.
It's one of the participants who maybe is still in the movies. And they were saying that like they wouldn't do the interview unless they were a cover story. And so I guess it's that level of publicity or fame or just recognition or whatever that would require them to open up about this. But like, the fascinating part about all, and as I'm sure you know and you wrote about, is that like The Rock doesn't do this. Like The Rock is like so buttoned up and like, I'm not going to say anything bad. And for him to come out on the set of Fate and be like, candy asses, blah blah blah, this and that, like it must have pushed some buttons.
Yeah, these are two, The Rock even more so, of like the most sort of like pristine and kind of always aware of their media perception guys. And yeah, so for Rock to really be airing it out, that they really don't like each other past the bounds of like what's good for business in your billion-dollar franchise.
Now, have you been following and I don't know if it's to the same level, but have you been following the Vin versus Justin Lin, feud?
Yeah, so I did have to write a quick thing about that when the news broke that he was no longer directing the movie. Has there been more fallout since who's directing it now?
So it's Louis Leterrier, who did the first 2 Transporter movies, and he just had a movie out on Netflix that did not get received very well, but, he knows Statham, so there's that.
True. He did that Clash of the Titans movie from a few years ago that was a little goofy. That must be such a crazy to get asked to helm this on like
right in the middle of it, like they're already there.
Whatever.
Yeah, it's like, I don't think we've made this comparison, but it's like, you're watching a baseball game and like there's a projected starter and he goes out there and he gets injured in the first inning or whatever, and just like, well, long relief time. All right, here we go. Like the game's ready going,
Backup
but like,
goalie.
Right.
Warm up, take a little, not too much time. Just get out there because like we're losing $1 million a day. So now that you are sort of newly, like I joined the franchise, came to the franchise after the fifth movie. So like, I'm not, as recent as you, but I have not been there since 2001. So you have, I would assume that based on this relationship you had and all the just your own personal endeavors, have you seen all 10 movies now?
I have seen 8 of them.
Okay.
Which ones are you missing, bud?
I have not seen Too Fast, Too Furious.
Okay.
Okay.
And I've only seen bits of 4.
Okay.
Okay.
Not enough to even sort of fraudulently claim that I've seen it. So those are the 2 that are out of my
Well, those are the
my
two kind of
wheelhouse.
consensus lowest rated. So, you're not, I don't want to say you're not missing a lot because we love them, but like if you have to miss 2, those are 2 of the better ones, I guess, to have missed.
I see why you're like the partner that you were dating and watching them with. Those are 2 that I will be like, okay, we could watch those last or skip, even if you're doing a bunch of them, right?
Right. It was funny though. I was talking. I'm currently in like physical therapy for a torn ACL that happened to me last year,
Ooh.
and I was telling my physical thank you. I was telling my physical therapist that I'm like was going on this podcast about these movies, and he was like, "Oh, I've never seen any of them, but the one that I would really want to see is Tokyo Drift." And I
Okay.
was kind of explaining to him that there's sort of a not like reckoning, but just sort of like I think that one. Correct me if I'm wrong. Was kind of maligned at the time it came out, and now with hindsight, people are like, actually, this movie really cool.
Yes, absolutely.
And with 9 coming back out, they like really reintegrated the storyline of 3 that like wasn't necessarily a direct part of the storyline for a long time. So yeah, so Tokyo Drift got its rise from the ashes in the past summer for sure.
So have you ranked, do you have a ranking of the 8 that you have seen, either from favorite to least favorite or least favorite to favorite? I just want to get a sense of where you are with the franchise. Which of these you like more? Which of these you like less? Do you have these movies ranked in any kind of order?
Yeah, so basically, and this kind of dovetails into the reason that I picked 5 for the show, is I am not like a capital C Cars guy.
Neither am I. All good. Yep.
The ones that had kind of pivoted to big, elaborate heists or, the kind of incredibly intricate, plotting, not like Ocean's 11 style plotting, obviously, but kind of the we got to get the crew together and everyone's kind of got their part, and where, each movie kind of escalates in like insane set piece level. So my list of the ones I've seen, I have Furious 7 first.
Is this from the top down or from bottom up? Top down.
This is my favorite
Okay,
to
cool. Yep.
least favorite, but a lot of them are kind of close together. So
Gotcha.
like,
Okay.
Yep,
I
definitely.
seven I think is my favorite. Then I had Fast 5. Then I had 6.
Mm-hmm.
Then I put in brackets Hobbs and Shaw. I don't know, as a Fast and Furious podcast, where you guys stand on it. I do you think it's pretty fun?
Fun is the exact word I used to describe it whenever we saw it, and I still stand by that. That I think it's one of the most fun Fast and the Furiouses. It doesn't take itself too seriously. I'm right there with you, brother. I agree.
I liked Shaw. I mean, I like Jason Statham. I liked Shaw when he was introduced in the series, and I thought that he and Rock had like a great sort of like pissy dynamic. Which, I mean, maybe I don't know if they had issues on the set. Who knows? That's one that I would like love to see them do more. I had the first one, and then Tokyo Drift, and then down at the bottom, I actually had Fate of the Furious and F9. I was sort of underwhelmed by both of those.
Okay.
There's stuff in them that I like. Obviously, I love when Tyrese and Ludacris go to space in like the old Pontiac. I think that's awesome. 8 is the one with like evil Dom, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I thought that was funny. I didn't necessarily think it made for like a super compelling movie, and I think that they've really got Vin kind of squarely in his range as playing good Dom.
Yes.
I know that she's supposed to be in Fast 10, so I'm not like totally, ruling out that they'll like bring the character to a good conclusion, but all the Cypher stuff hasn't really clicked for me yet.
Yep.
That's the thing that, like, that's our biggest, hanging thread, loose thread, however you want to describe it, because she literally ends 8 jumping out of a plane. We're like, cool, we're going to learn more in 9. And, like, we don't really learn anything more in 9. And then for Justin
Nope.
Lin to, like, leave, it feels like anything that he was maybe crafting or working toward through 9, in conjunction with the guys who wrote the script and with Vin and whoever, like, I don't know, like, we need answers from her because she has the potential to be cool, but we don't know, like, we know almost nothing about her through 2 movies, which is frustrating.
Clearly, there's something significant going on here. If she has a 3-movie arc, and like presumably when they do 11, unless they all bring it all to a close, in her storyline in the next one, like that's a big part of the franchise. That's sizable.
Yeah.
And I just like haven't seen it all together yet. But I believe in the folks behind the Fast and Furious. I will give them the benefit of the doubt.
Because she is, I don't know if you've ever actually said this, but, like, she's the only villain that's really the villain in more than one movie. Like, villains return, but, like, 8,
Yeah.
Statham is not the villain. He's in prison, he breaks out, he helps them. Braga comes back. There's some stuff here and there, but she's the only one who's more than one, and now she's going to be in at least 3. Like, she's already posting pictures from set and stuff, right? So
Right.
maybe they're slow playing it because they know that they can, but it doesn't feel as satisfying to just drag it out without any kind of, like, real payoff.
And she's like arguably the most accomplished actor
Yes.
in the franchise. I mean, I guess, is Helen Mirren? She's in one of them. She's not just in Hobbs and Shaw, right?
No, yeah, she's in 8 for, like, a scene or 2, and I think she probably will be back in 9. She just joined. It was
No, she was in 9. You're saying she's
Yes.
in 9. Was she in 8 as well?
She was in 8. She's in that bar, the Devil's Bunghole, because she's the
That's
one
right,
who
that's right.
brings
She's in 8,
Owen,
yep.
or brings Owen back. She's in a couple scenes in 8, a couple scenes in 9, and, like, a little bit more in Hobbs and Shaw. But, like, all in all, across 3 movies, her screen time is probably under half an hour.
Yeah, that
Right.
makes
So in
sense.
that sense, then I think Charlize is kind of the biggest get in terms of like a prestige actor in the franchise.
And I think now, adding Brie Larson is big. Momoa not
Yep.
necessarily prestige, but, like, Brie Larson, another Academy Award winner. It feels like their quality for women, for casting actresses, is like, hey, are you a good actor? Cool, come hang out. And then for men, it's just like, hey, do you have lots and lots of muscles? Hey, cool, come hang out.
Yep.
Right. Are you
Exactly.
just like a big dude?
Yeah,
Yeah.
big dudes wanted.
Although it's funny. I mean, I'm not sure if this is like a verboten topic on the show. I'm not a superhero movie guy. I'm not a Marvel guy. I'm not like
No,
a
that's
DC
fine.
guy. Anytime I see, and I know that obviously like Brie Larson is someone who, has a Marvel franchise of her own. But anytime I see an actor kind of pick the Fast and the Furious world over being like a superhero, I'm like, great, right on, like more for the more for the good guys, like more for the winning team. So I'm always in favor of someone joining this franchise versus one of the other franchises.
So then, if you're not a superhero guy, and you're not really, or you weren't a Fast and Furious person until a couple years ago, and you are a pop culture entertainment journalist, like, clearly you like pop culture and movies. Like, what movies do you like? These are the Grant, I don't know if you know, but these are the only movies that society has said it's okay to like.
That is true. And now I'm on record as stating my opinion, so the backlash will be tremendous. I'm a horror movie
Canceled.
guy.
You're done.
Yeah, I'm like a big horror movie guy.
Cool. Yep, me too.
I can be like a sci-fi person. I love a good thriller. Most of what I write about is actually like music related. I probably do like 65% music and then
Okay.
35% movies, TV, any other kind of cultural happenings. But in terms of like the like popular movies that I consume, I mean, like I'm embarrassed to say I own like all of the A24 horror movie shirts.
Sure.
I
Yeah.
have like 7 or 8 of those. Like that's
Mhm.
like kind of the stuff that really gets me going. And I don't, a lot of it, the sort of bigger, more commercial stuff, I don't think is, necessarily has any more artistic merit than like a big fancy superhero movie. I just like being scared more than I like kind of watching action unfold in most instances.
Yeah. No.
That's fair.
Scratches a different itch in the brain or whatever, right?
Right.
So this lap, as we're going through these movies for the 11th time, we are focusing on the heist elements of these movies. We are in between each of these movies. We're watching classic heist movies, modern heist movies, just anything we can get our hands on, anything that we want to do. And so with each episode that we do, we are basically drafting characters from these movies for an ultimate heist team. What we're going to do in this episode is we're each going to, and like we'll give you time to think about it because we did not spring this on you ahead of time, but we're each going to sort of nominate someone from this movie that if we don't have the job out there yet. And I do want to point out that Fast Five is kind of like the ultimate Fast and Furious heist movie. Like the franchise starts with a heist movie. 4 is a heist in the beginning, but this is like the heist movie, right? They set up for life because of this movie. It's the biggest job, all of that. If you want to build a team that was going to be a well-rounded team that was going to successfully take on some kind of heist job, still don't know exactly what that's going to be yet, who from this movie would you want it to be? And why? Joe, who would you nominate for Fast Five?
I had it split between two, and I think you can make good arguments.
Oh, you were saying that we might have lined up. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. I said I had it split between two options for this one. I feel like we might line up, and I think you can make good cases for quite a few people in this movie because it is like
absolutely
the ultimate, Fast and Furious heist movie. But in this one, I think I have to pick Mia.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I think that she is like the most active in this movie.
Yep.
Which is a big bonus. She does some parkour. She's bilingual. We see that she's like an accomplished driver in this.
She's literally creating life within her body.
Yeah, and she's pregnant at the time.
Yep.
So like bonus points. That's awesome. Like the thing that really sealed it for me is when it's kind of near the beginning, like closer to the beginning of the movie, but she hears like the noise outside the garage when Dom's coming in and she grabs a pipe. So I'm like, oh, she's ready to like throw down too. Like we don't really see Mia be like, I'm about to start a fist fight with someone for intruding. I was kind of torn between her and Giselle, but I think I have to go Mia in this one.
When you said that you had two different people and you're like, I don't know if we're going to align, or you thought that we might, I'm like, I don't know, but like Mia was the front runner in my mind, but I will let you have her because I have a couple other options. I think Mia's a great pick here. I also will say, in Mia's defense, or in support of Mia, she is like the ultimate man in the chair, like we always talk about, like the Ned from the Spider-Man. I feel like you need someone in an HQ for the heist, no matter what the heist is, but I think Mia's a good pick. Grant, what about you? Do you have somebody in mind who you would pick for an ultimate heist team?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, as you said, the exact nature of the heist is unspecified. So with that in mind, I would probably go for Tej.
Okay.
In the later movies, he becomes kind of this incredible techno wizard. He's sort of starting to show that a little bit in 5. But he's got some good car moments. He has great chemistry with the rest of the crew. I think chances are, I know that this movie has the whole thing with with like the cameras and kind of finding a car that is faster than a security camera, which I still don't fully understand. I can assume that whatever contemporary heist is going on will probably involve some sort of similar surveillance technology defying feat. And I think Tej would be the guy to have.
The only reason why I didn't pick Tej, Grant, is because I took him in 2, so I already had a Tej, and I didn't want to have 2 Tejes.
I mean, we can have unlimited Tejes. That's a wrinkle that Joe is
true
limiting himself with.
Your pick. Who do you
want?
So
I feel like it's crazy to not do Dom or Brian, but they're not on my radar. I would like to do Giselle, but I don't really have a fully fleshed argument for Giselle. I just love Giselle, and I think she's great, and I think her, like, let's run it back when she's doing the, what Grant, you were saying, the ghost cars. Yes.
Part is good. I like her ingenuity to get the handprint, although, but I think that's like a well thought out plan, and we learn here that she's like part of the Mossad. So.
Right. I'm going to go more outside the box. I'm going to go something weirder. I'm going to go, and I don't know if this qualifies, but I'm going to make it qualify because it's my pick, and I'm going to make it work. I'm going to go Leo and Santos as a single unit.
I think they can. I would consider them one because in the heist team too. Yep, I
think it's important to have on your team someone willing to literally get their hands dirty. And I don't know that we have that yet, and I don't know that we're going to pick it again, but I feel like their work in this movie, in the bathroom scene in particular, is enough to be like, they'll go do whatever. Like, we got to cut them in.
And you need demolitions.
Yes.
You need a demolitions guy on your heist team. I agree.
So I'm going to do Leo and Santos, which feels kind of crazy given the success and the abilities of everyone here, but I also think it's not crazy to think about. I think Leo and Santos are helpful to the team. They're good team members. The only downside, I think, is that they bicker with each other and one of them can't cook. But, we have other cooks, and, they don't really argue with each other or anybody else, just with each other. So I think they're an unconventional pick, but I'm going to go with Leo and Santos as our Rico and Tego, as we used to call them, but Leo and Santos.
I feel like one of the defining elements of Fast Five as a movie is Danza Kuduro, and now you have Don Omar.
There we go.
Your team.
That's very true.
Yeah.
Very, very true.
When I rewatched the movie twice in preparation for this, once with a friend of mine who kind of introduced me to the franchise, and then earlier today. And I remember when I watched with my friend who, she's from Miami and is very well versed in, any kind of Latin and Spanish language music. And she was free. She was like, I feel like this song has been with me my entire life. I feel she was really stunned. She's like, I feel like Danza Kuduro came out in 2002 when I was 7, and not in 2010 when I was almost done with high school. And I kind of thought the same. I was like, I've heard this song in passing so much that I just assumed it had been around for my entire life, even though, no real reason to think that.
Me and Joe have a running joke with one of our frequent guests on the show, Brian Rodriguez, where anytime one of us is out at a bar or a wedding, or Brian's been on bachelor parties recently, whenever that song comes on, we just stop what we're doing and we film just the room, and we send it to each other because I think if you don't know the song, you're like, oh, this is this cool song. But once you know the song, it's like, oh no, this song is everywhere all the time. And especially if you like this movie, it's inextricably linked to that one scene and that feeling of pure joy, right? So it's perfect.
I would be curious to get you guys not to derail from the draft.
Please.
No,
the draft is over. Please bring us wherever.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Is it the best Fast and Furious song?
We talked about that recently. That came up recently, and I think the answer is, if not yes, very close at the top. I think
it's top tier. It's definitely top tier. You have I think a lot of people would make the argument for See You Again. That's a big one. I like the whole Tokyo Drift soundtrack, so I'm a little preferential that way, but I know that's just personal bias.
And then the song Bandoleros, which is the song that Dom is listening to when at the end of Tokyo Drift, and it plays in 4, and it's also in the short film he directed. That's in kind of 3 different things. That's really good. I mean, Grant, you're mostly a music guy. Is Danza Kuduro your pick, or did you say there's another song that's better? Also, the opening montage scene for the opening credits with 6 is really good too. So
Tej's Too Fast Too Furious song
also
is
true.
Excellent
Also
too. Yeah.
true.
Oh, you've never seen Too Fast Too Furious, but Ludacris has.
But I knew that song before.
Yeah.
That song permeated popular culture. That wasn't just society, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
I frequently talk about the fact that See You Again is one of the most popular pop songs of all time, which is just, to me, continues to be so wild. It's one of the most successful songs in the history of pop music. So in a sense, it sort of feels silly to not. I think it's certainly, obviously, it's the widest reaching, the most impactful, the biggest. In terms of personal musical enjoyment, I would probably go Danza Kuduro. I also was a big fan of We Own It, the 2 Chainz and Wiz Khalifa one, which is sort of.
Yep.
I love 2 Chainz.
Did you like the soundtrack on Hobbs and Shaw as much as I did? Because I think that was a super sleeper pick for an excellent soundtrack.
I remember liking it. I need to look quickly at it. Had a lot of kind of weird hip hop, right?
And remixes of stuff. Yeah.
Okay, I'm giving it a quick glance now. Yeah, it had the Youngblood song. It had the Heavy in it. Yeah, this was a good soundtrack. All this, and it has the one with Aloe Black and Jid. The soundtracks of these movies kind of feel, it's not just they're big enough now that they could just kind of go with whatever the modern pop flavor of that year is, but they kind of don't. There's still sort of something about them that kind of feels very in time of kind of what was trendy when the franchise started, which I think is cool, even to the throwback sort of rap crew cuts and all that.
Yeah, like there's the song at the beginning of 8 in Cuba where it's like, oh, this could have been Despacito because it was the summer that Despacito came out
Oh,
and
I
it fit
know.
perfectly. But I think now, like, and Joe and I both love that song that summer. Like, I think that, as did everybody. But I think if you had put that song in that movie, it would have been like, oh, I know when this movie came out. But like, I think you're right, Grant. Like, it kind of has like a more sort of timeless, like, this is existing on its own time in its own place. Like, it's current and it feels cool, but it's not like, oh, I know exactly what summer that was.
Yeah. Like, I think I'm trying to think the biggest pop song that I can recall being in one of the movies was probably when they had Turned Down for What was in either 7 or 8. But
Yeah.
that song's kind of, I feel like to me that song is kind of just a meme. It like transcends music and time. So putting that in a movie to me isn't a timestamp of anything. It just means it exists post 2010.
I want to take a quick detour here because I forgot there's another connection totally independent of the Fast and Furious, but totally connected to half of this franchise. In that Grant's bio on Twitter includes, and we're going to go from Wiz to another Pittsburgh guy, long live Mac Miller. So Joe
Yes.
went to high school with Mac Miller.
Oh wow.
For a brief period of time, yeah.
Grant, I
Until he
assume,
transferred.
you know, your pin tweet is about Mac Miller, so I would assume, and we've talked about Mac Miller more than once on this podcast, so I don't know if that's a thing to talk about now, but I forgot that that's another, like, cool, like, weird little backstory connection of, like, why you sort of fit in, why you're hashtag family for the podcast.
So you went to, what is it, Alderdice?
No. I went to the Pittsburgh Central Catholic where Mac Miller went for his freshman year and then transferred to Alderdice.
Oh, okay, got it. Right, because that's where you graduated from. Gotcha.
Yes, yeah. So he went to Alderdice, and that's where he met Wiz, or like he like met people that knew Wiz from Alderdice. I think, I think that it was that because Wiz was like maybe a year older than me, and Mac Miller was like a freshman when I was a senior. So that's how it went. And also, all of his music videos are like shot all around Pittsburgh, as you know, and like the Smile Back one like goes down like the alley behind my parents' house, and like yeah, like I knew a bunch, like I knew one of the dancers that was in like the Frick Park Market one, so like I was like always like very close
Right.
in this weird mix because it's it's not a huge city, so
I didn't know anyone from Pittsburgh until I went to college, and there were like two brothers who I knew pretty well, and they were not like, they were big music fans, but they weren't like hip hop guys per se.
Yep.
Everyone who kind of grew up within probably like a 5 to 8 year age range of Mac felt some kind of kinship towards him, and like I've seen them both go to like the Blue Slide Park and like post it on their Instagrams and whatnot.
I used to go there as a kid. It was really funny. Like when that came out, like that was a park that I would actually just go to as a kid. So.
But it is funny that you bring that up because I mean one thing that my like love of Mac Miller's music and my love of the Fast and Furious world have in common is I kind of did get to both of them sort of late. I didn't really I like knew Mac Miller was making good music for a while before I kind of dove back in, so I didn't even really become a big fan of his until probably 2015, and then went back a little bit. The really early stuff. It's like sweet.
Like kids.
Yeah, it's
kids,
like
best day ever, that kind of stuff.
It's very sweet and endearing. I don't like listen to it the way that I listen to like Good AM and Swimming and like, Faces and stuff. I definitely am not always like early to whatever the big cool thing is. And very often I'm like showing up late and being like, hey, have you guys heard of this? And they're like, yeah, it's the most popular movie franchise in America. Or, he's been a chart-topping rapper for like 9 years.
But Grant, now the floor is yours. Anything you want to talk about with Fast Five? We started talking about some different elements here, but this is your second favorite movie. What do you love about this one? Is there stuff that you don't like about this one? Anywhere you want to go with it. We've already talked about this movie at least 10 times. The floor is yours. Take it away. Anything you want to talk about?
Yeah, so I did jot down a few notes of just things that stuck out to me upon rewatching. I mean, obviously, to kind of begin in media res of the like prison transport break is just is just perfect. I mean, the previous movies, it's not like they wasted a ton of time with like exposition before you got to the action, but this one was just like so to me like that
Straight.
scene signals the shift that it's like you're not going to be bored, not for 1 minute.
Nope.
And that, like you guys were saying, kind of that also establishes Mia as like, I don't know if you call her the breakout character because she's obviously been around the franchise a lot, but kind of as like the big, one of the big stars of this movie in particular.
For sure.
I love the aforementioned scene where they're trying to keep getting faster and faster cars to elude the security cameras.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
I think the editing of it is like as funny as anything they do in the whole series. Like sort of the way they cut from them kind of being back at like sort of the hideout to the races is just hilarious. I think Tej is great in it. And I think, even as someone who like I said, the car angle of these movies doesn't necessarily do a ton for me. I think that's like a perfect utilization of it. You have this like one really plum scene that is kind of mined more for like humor than really like being like a gearhead. This is a small. I think it was probably Roman describes Hobbs as being like an Old Testament guy.
Yes.
And I think
Yeah.
that's just like such a perfect. I mean, maybe not for like The Rock all the time, but certainly for like the way he conducts himself in that movie is so perfect. I think it's like a great line.
Actually, that's a question that I want to sort of explore a little bit. We've talked about it a little bit before about The Rock, and we have a friend of the show, Nate Milton, who's got his own podcast, The Rocky Maivia Picture Show, where he's working his way through all of The Rock's movies. And we've talked a lot about Hobbs's evolution through the franchise, because I feel like that fire and brimstone Old Testament thing it's spot on in this movie. Like, he's just badass, he's just like pure muscle, he's just anger, he's like, I'm gonna do my job here. And then by the time, in Fate of the Furious, he's coaching his daughter's soccer team and like talking about Taylor Swift and eating pancakes and cheat day and Hobbs and Shaw, and like it's a totally different Hobbs that's like rooted in this. But like, what do you think of that Hobbs evolution? Do you like him? Do you like the earlier where he's all serious and all means business here? Or do you like the sort of like still very good at his job, but sort of a more well-rounded family man father that they get to in later movies?
I mean, I was going to say it's not a terribly subtle transition, but they do it over the course of like 4 films. So
Yeah.
I guess maybe they don't, it's not just like from 5 to 6, he's suddenly sort of cuddly. I liked him as the foil for Dom, and I love that scene at the end where they finish the heist. Hobbs is sort of like, you've earned one day and then I'm going to come after you. And he's like, Toretto, I'll see you soon. And Dom is just like, no, you won't.
No, you won't.
It's just such a good, it's one of my favorite, like, Vin line deliveries in the whole. And then obviously that next scene where they, like, reveal the double vault swap, which I just, like, I literally just wrote down in my little note here in all caps, reverse double bank vault heist. Just because I think that's the funniest thing in the world. It's so cool.
Well, what I love about that, and I think we've talked about this before, but like, you watch TV shows and movies that like don't trust the audience to get anything, right? It's just like,
Yep.
like I'm watching right now for the first time Ozark, and I'm like watching season 1, and there's like this like murder that happens in the season 1, and like the show does a really, really good job of explaining what happened and why it happened and how it happened. But before they do a really good job of it, they flash back and they show a thing that you've already seen with like a little bit more context. It's like, yeah, we know. Like, we're not dumb. And I feel like what they do here is like they show them driving under the bridge. We don't see the switcheroo where they do the vault, the double reverse or whatever your cool phrase was for it. But like when they flash back, it's like, oh, I get it now. I see what they did. And like it's respecting the audience in a way. Like it's not like, some brainy movie, but it's like it's respecting you. It's like, hey, remember seeing that thing before? Like here's what actually happened. It's not just like, okay, so now here's where they rob the person. It's just like they trust you in a way, and like the way that it's shot and edited and like just storyboarded, it's cool, and I think it works, and I think that's part of why the success is fun, is because of everything like in the presentation of all that. So I'm right there with you.
These movies are like when it kind of seems like Dom is gonna like sacrifice himself. You don't really believe that, obviously, because it's like they got more movies to make. But
Yeah.
in that moment, because they don't spell it out for you, you kind of do think maybe the plan is going to fail, or they're not going to get away with the money, or they're going to have to, that something isn't going to kind of work out fully to the gang's liking. And I think if they like made it clear that was the plan from the outset, like even I don't know, do you guys watch Community at all? Have you watched
Yeah,
Community?
yeah.
I was watching recently the third season when they have to like break into the school and rescue the dean, and they have the plan, and then part of the plan is that the plan's supposed to fail, and then Chevy Chase thinks that like the part of the plan that actually fails is the part of the plan that's supposed to fail, and like I don't know, I think I enjoy like a little bit of sort of like subversion, and I think you don't need to do something that's kind of that meta in the Fast and Furious movies because they have different goals. But I agree that the fact that they didn't like put it out there from the jump is smart and adds to the stakes.
Well, I think in any movie you watch, you expect the heroes to win and them not to die or whatever. But when there's like believable, like, oh, they might not, like that's all you need. Even if it's just a moment, you're like, oh, oh no, they're going to. Like, well, of course they're going to. Like, how would they not, right? But like, I think you're right. This movie in particular does a really good job of like, oh no, they might not get away with it because like there's different ways they could fail and not die or not get caught. Like they just might not be successful in the heist, right? And like that's a viable ending. It's not a fun ending, but like it could happen, and the movie, sells it.
Yeah, and you assume at some point in the franchise they would fail once.
Yes.
Obviously there are like tragic things that happen to them with Letty. I mean, they don't position it as like a tragic thing with Brian, but anyone who watches the movie kind of knows
Right.
what it is. Yeah, and then I mean the other thing that I had written down is just the Vin and Dwayne fist fight is just
Yeah.
like an incredible scene of like two massive dudes hitting each other. Which I saw The Northman recently, which I think is like not that dissimilar from a Fast and the Furious movie, and I was like reminded of that. There's like a very climactic sort of like scene where like the sky is red with blood and it's all sort of volcano-y when I was watching that fight, and I was like, you know what? I wish that fight was these guys. 'Cause that's where I watch these guys fight, and I could watch it for hours, and I could watch it in any context.
I listened to Robert Eggers' interview on Mark Maron's podcast this week, and he was talking about how Hitchcock used to watch his movies silently, like even the ones that had sound. He watched them silently to make sure that you could follow along, and he wanted to make sure he did that with like The Northman and stuff, because and even like The Lighthouse and probably The Witch too, where it's just like I want to make sure that like this. It's how you make sure things are cinematic, right? And I feel like maybe not most action movies, but a lot of action movies can do that. But I think you could probably watch this on mute and still, I mean, you would miss Don Zacaduro, of course, and that would be devastating. But like you could follow along, and like that scene in particular would be awesome. Like it would just like you don't need the sound to like know exactly what's at stake and what's happening, and you see like it's like the confrontation of the two sides of things in the most physical, like one of the most physical fights in a franchise, maybe the most to date at that point, right? So like it works because in all sorts of different ways.
Yeah. The way they, they cut to Mia and she's kind of anguished, and when you see that like real sort of like primal anger in Dom. No, it's just really good scene.
I got really, really sad watching it this time because of what like we started talking about in the beginning with like Dom and The Rock fighting, because that you're right, like the fight is so magical, them coming together is so magical. I'm like, why can't you guys just work this out? Because I really want to see you two be friendly and fun on screen again together, because I think there is some like really fun chemistry between the two, and to see like these two huge dudes, like like when there's the shootout and Dom like picks The Rock up with his like giant muscles,
Right.
and you see The Rock's giant muscles, and you're like, dude, that is just awesome on film. So like, can we get back to that, please, and stop arguing on Instagram about dumb shit and just like come back to just like arming each other as huge men, please?
Yeah, I mean,
But,
it's like the literal version of the meme that's like the two jacked arms kind of doing like the handshake. I mean, I'm curious for you guys as sort of as scholars of the franchise. I
Thank
mean, what
you.
do you think the Do you think the beef really just boils down to like a matter of creative control? Do you think there's something else there, kind of?
I think it's ego.
Mm.
That's what I always see. For a while there, we were talking about it and we were really hoping that it was like wrestling promo, that it was just like a fake constructed fight to like run promo like a long con 410. That there's no way that The Rock can't be in Fast and the Furious 10 and that this was just like he was doing other projects. So they were like, we needed this fake fight to kind of like let him get out and like, do Black Adam or whatever else he's working on. And then, they'll come back together for 10 and everybody will be like, oh my God, they've been fighting for 5 years. This is crazy. But like in reality, they were like, oh no, it's no big deal. Now we don't think that that's the case.
No. And I think, when we saw 9, there was so much talk about like, oh, this person spotted on set. Oh, Cardi B signed on, this, that, whatever. But for the credit scene to have Statham in it, we're like, oh shit, like that wasn't even on the radar. Like we didn't even heard about that. Mm-hmm. And so I don't think it'd be crazy that like if this was all promo, which again, like Joe said, we don't think it is anymore, for like at the end of this movie for Hobbs to show up on one scene and just be like, I'm here to help, whatever you need, Toretto. And then to be in 11, like the final one, full stop. But like the more time goes on and like the more Vin posts on Instagram and like calling him like little brother and stuff, it's like, I don't know, man. It seems like it's crossed a line from like possible promotion to
actual fighting.
Just lack of respect for other people or something. I don't know.
That would rule. That would
Right?
be so good. Yeah.
What?
No, like if they'd successfully sort of done a real kind of wrestling style sort of media
Right?
campaign beef that wasn't real, that would be awesome. I would love to be tricked by them. I think that would be rad,
Because like it's a beef that has transcended the franchise into just like people knowing about that they hate each other. And I'm trying to think like what Marvel could do. And I don't know that there's something Marvel could do that would have that kind of like to the fans, the same kind of like, oh shit. Like you can't really bring Downey back. You can't really bring Chris Evans back, right? Like even like in a multiverse thing, it's just like, all right, fine, whatever. Okay. But but this would be like, I never thought this was going to happen. And I also know that we're probably too close to it, but like, I think it would be big. It'd be really big.
And it's a brilliant way of like blending the like real worldness of the franchise with the fact that it's a movie series. Like you have the beef kind of spill over. Yeah, I agree that it seems increasingly unlikely, but it's a great idea.
If they could have ran this long con, it would have worked beautifully.
Absolutely.
Because like the first people that came out of the theater, like if you could have like held it off, even like if you could have held it off into like seeing him on set. Right, you know what I mean? Because then there would have been like rumors and rumblings, and you'd have been like, "Is he really on set? Like I thought these guys were fighting." So like, I guess we were just more creative than
trying to be optimistic. I think it's creativity and optimism. It's just like, please let this be, So
yeah, it was definitely a lot of optimism until the little brother comments, and then we were like, I don't think that that's part of the thing.
Yeah, no, I mean, especially nowadays, it's like anytime you can really be surprised by something in a movie.
Yes.
It feels even like I'm sure there are more recent examples. The first thing that comes to mind for me is like I remember so vividly seeing Tom Cruise in Tropic Thunder and thinking that was like the funniest shit in the entire world.
Was that a surprise? Was that not advertised? Like, did he just show up in that movie?
I think it broke that he had been on set a little ways before, but at least in my case, I didn't know what the role was.
Sure.
So to see him, with the bald cap with all the weight on, and then like at the end, he's like dancing to like "Get Back" by Ludacris. It's like it's not even funny if it isn't Tom Cruise.
Right.
And I know that in the big franchises nowadays, they occasionally will finagle like a real cool kind of like a surprise cameo or a callback or whatever, but something like this would just be so much fun.
Yeah 100%. And he's the one, like, the podcast network that we're on, I started because me and a friend Mike did all the Nicolas Cage movies with Keanu. We've done a bunch of different things. I would love Nicolas Cage in these movies. I would love Keanu in these movies. I think Keanu's more likely, but like the one actor that we've done Charlize, so she's already in. Like that was exciting. That was thrilling when she joined, right? But like the one that I would really love that would fit, but I don't know if he's too big now. I don't know. Would be Tom Cruise. Like if Tom Cruise shows some of these movies, like I don't know if he's like Cypher's boss or something, right? Like he's like the action star, and this is like the action franchise. Let's make it happen, people.
It would work really well. And yeah, I mean, this feels like so much more. Not to keep bagging on them, but like this feels so much more his speed than doing like a Marvel movie where they shoot the whole thing in an airplane hangar in Atlanta. You know, like these. I mean, I know a lot of what they do with these now is effects driven, but like, I mean, you know, you hear about this stuff on the set of the new Top Gun, which is apparently like the best movie ever made.
I cannot wait for this goddamn
Yeah,
movie.
I'm really hyped about it too. And it's like, yeah, you know, you could totally see him jumping off a plane and landing on another plane.
Yeah.
You know, doing the
Yeah,
like.
for sure.
I mean, my favorite scene in the entire franchise is, you know, the UAE or something. But it's when they have to get the car out of the luxury building, and they just
Seven. Yep.
Seven, yeah, and
Yep.
they just keep driving it to lower and lower levels of neighboring buildings by driving through the glass window. And it's like Tom Cruise could totally do something like that. And Tom Cruise would insist on like being in the car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you guys saw this quote, but they're at Cannes right now, and there was like a 5-minute standing ovation when Top Gun Maverick ended, and there was an interview that they did. They did like they gave him like a lifetime achievement award, and so they interviewed him over there. And the moderator said about the stunts in Mission Impossible, "You risk your life, Monsieur. Why do you do it?" And he said, "No one asked Gene Kelly, why do you dance?"
I did see that, and it rules.
Oh.
I know there's some deeply objectionable stuff about Tom Cruise, but like
Oh yeah.
stuff like that rules.
It's just like he's the only person out there. Like, you know, I think The Rock's an action star. I have friends who are like, there's been no action stars since the 90s, and I think that's largely true. But I think Tom Cruise is like, he's maybe the only actor when he does a thing that people be like, yeah, I'll go see that. Like, there's nobody like that anymore. Like, even The Rock, like, no, like not everybody goes and sees like Skyscraper or whatever. You know, like there's movies that he does that are like
Rampage.
big but not
Yeah.
like huge.
Right.
Like Tom Cruise is like, he's a goddamn icon. Grant, are you ready to find out which Fast and Furious character you are?
Yes, absolutely.
So we have a 7-question quiz, 6 multiple choice answers per question. No wrong answers. You can explain yourself or not. Are you ready to begin?
Yes. In as much as I can be.
It's the
no wrong answers.
Okay.
Bob.
it's the most mindless thing possible. It's not like a quiz.
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
like a
you're
personality
totally
quiz.
okay.
It's just like
All right, fire away.
it'd be really funny if we built it up as like all right, we're gonna quiz your knowledge on Fast 5. Question number 1.
Just use minute questions.
Yeah.
Just use like what color? How many candles?
At the end of the
Yeah.
first movie, when they're doing CPR on Vince, who does blah blah blah?
Right.
All right,
Yeah.
but we build this up and we're like, all right, Grant, number 1, how fast are you? And like that's our first question. How fast are you? NASCAR, roller coaster, Lamborghini Murcielago, Toyota Prius, Vespa, or Razor scooter?
Realistically, I am Prius.
You can answer
fast.
however you feel too. By the way,
Sure.
You could pick like whatever. You know what I mean? So like you don't have to answer realistically. We will accept anything. But if that's how you want to go, also accept it.
I mean,
Yeah.
I've answered realistically, and I wound up as Mia, which is so spot on. It's not even It's remarkable how spot on that is. So you know, as honest or as dishonest as you want to be.
It's funny. Every, you know, like once a month or something for my knee rehab, I have to like answer, you know, sort of like a progress survey like this, and I'm always on the lower end of what it is. And I was telling my physical therapist, I was like, this is just how I end up on any kind of quiz like this. I kind of trend towards the like
The low end.
pessimistic low end of it versus sort of overselling myself. So with that being said, I will say Prius for the
Okay.
first question.
Fair. Question number 2, you know it's coming. How furious are you? Are you the Hulk, Kylo Ren, Christian Bale in that one movie set that one time, Mel Gibson, Charlie Brown, or Jack McBrayer?
Well, I hope no one has answered Mel Gibson on the show.
One person did recently. We're like, really? Okay.
I mean, maybe you guys are referring to like Mad Max Furious and not, you know, voicemail Furious.
It's wherever your brain goes. Joe and I took hours to assign points here, and I don't exactly remember how I did it. It's like a little bit of the, anti-Semitism. It's a little bit of the movie star. It's a little bit of the persona, a little bit of the mythology. It's all of Mel Gibson rolled into one answer that like is like, oh, you're a little bit more Han or whatever because of that, right? So
Yeah. I actually think of the options, I gravitate to Kylo Ren.
okay,
I do have a bit of a temper.
Okay.
And I think he's angry, but he's not like cool about it.
yeah.
And that I think feels fitting.
I realized we didn't ask. We used to have a whole bunch of either or questions that we had asked the guests at the start of the episode, which we largely scrapped. But we have two, and there's one in particular that I want to get from you. But there's an easier one, and there's this other one. But the one more interesting, more appealing to you, I think, is, and it fits in perfectly with the heist lab. You, me, and Joe go to that tall building in Dubai, in Abu Dhabi, and anywhere, and we need to get out a supercar, and we're like, we're going to go into that other room. I'm going to lift a car up. Joe's going to do something underneath, whatever.
Yeah.
But Grant, you have the most important job of all. You need to distract this room just like Roman does. Shine bright like Roman Pierce. We need you to sing a song, karaoke style, either so good it's amazing or so bad you can't take your eyes off of it. What song are you singing karaoke style to distract a room so Joe and I can go heist something from the other room?
See, that's an interesting one because, well, you explained it perfectly. Where it's like you really gotta either nail it or sort of fail in spectacular fashion. And when I think of someone covering a song and failing in spectacular fashion, what I think of is the time that Machine Gun Kelly covered "Misery Business" by Paramore, which I encourage you guys to watch on YouTube. It's great. He tries to, well, he doesn't even try to hit the high note. He just kind of does like this weird throaty growl. But I am certainly a worse singer than he is. So if I had to distract people with a bad song, I think I would sing "Misery Business" by Paramore.
Perfect.
Poorly.
Ah, well played, sir. Yes.
Now, is there, if you wanted to, like, if we're like, we need you to actually be good, though? Like, is there a song, like, do you do karaoke? Is there a go-to song for you or no? Because I can't sing for shit. I have got no range. I can't do this. Like, I don't have a good
best
answer.
car song you sing to yourself, anything like this.
Interesting. Give me
Think about it.
Yeah. I am not a very good singer. I enjoy
No, neither
the
am
act
I.
of it
Yeah.
in,
Sure.
a safe space.
Yeah, exactly.
But nothing is presently coming to mind.
A follow-up to that question about Machine Gun Kelly in particular, are you, like him, also weed?
I have been.
I think we all have been at some point, but he is.
Yes, I would say that I was at a fairly young age and am no longer.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
And the other easier question is, do you have a favorite character in the franchise? Either this movie or any movie, just any Fast and Furious character, or big role, small role, anything in between, favorite character in any of these movies?
Oh, man. But there are so many.
There are so many.
Again, having gotten into them somewhat recently, I really like Ramsey.
Okay.
I think
yeah.
she's a great I think that, the, like, Tej and Roman stuff would have maybe started to get old, but, like, she's a great foil for them. I have a lot of love for Dom in the way you do, like, a family member who is
Sure.
sort of goofy, but, has a good heart. I'm not sure if this counts or is, like, verboten. I really liked Vanessa Kirby as Shaw's sister.
Patty Shaw, yeah.
Kind of ruled.
Yeah.
Those are all obviously, like, with the exception of Dom, who is the franchise kind of more periphery people, but those are the ones that come to mind.
Love it. Cool. Okay. Back to the actual quiz now. So, Grant, we're having a barbecue. How are you helping? Are you manning the grill, saying grace, kicking back with a beer, babysitting, being the entertainment, or are you sneaking a snack?
Sneaking a snack
Cool.
is the most true to my lived experience.
You've got time to kill. What are you doing? Are you grabbing a bite, working on your car, hanging with friends, drinking a beer, working out, or just working on your computer?
Realistically, probably working on my computer.
Cool. Okay. Fair enough. Describe your wedding. I'm never getting married. It's just me and my partner. It's us and our families. It's a backyard country affair. Everyone I know is there. I don't remember.
Were I to be the kind of a marriage style person, it would probably be the third one, the like tiny wedding family
Us and our families. Okay.
close pals. Yeah.
Cool. Grant, congratulations. You just won the lottery. What are you buying? Your own garage, a private plane. You're going to gamble it all away. Your childhood home, a fleet of cars, or a new life.
Buying a new life would be tight.
Pretty cool, right?
I don't love my life that much. Like, I think that would be, especially if you're not buying a new life to, flee from sort of repercussions, and theoretically you could always go back. It'd be nice to know what that's like. So yeah, I think I would buy myself a new life.
Cool. The final question to determine it all right now. What is your drink of choice? Belgian ale, Corona, something fruity, water, whatever's cheapest, or just Joe's going to the bar. Just get me one of whatever you're having.
I'm pretty indecisive, so if Joe can make the decision for me, I'm happy with that.
Cool.
Works for me.
Cool.
Joe, do you have any sense on who Grant is?
I'm gonna guess Tej. That's my guess.
Tej? No. Tej is sort of toward the top. There's a handful of characters above him, but Grant, you are Han. You are the ultimate example of cool. Even when things are spinning out of control, you keep calm, find a way through, and look smooth doing it. You know the secret to life isn't what you have, but who you keep around you. Your family means everything. They're a reflection of you, so you choose them carefully and are always there when they need you, and you drive like the wind blows.
That rules.
It's a good one.
Cool.
That is a great characterization. I do hope one day to successfully fake my death for some reason. So that's encouraging. And also, I don't think I appreciated until 9 came out quite how much everybody loved Han.
Everybody loves Han.
Everybody
loved Han from the rip. I mean, Tokyo Drift got like a bad rap, but like everybody was like, but that Han guy was fucking cool.
Yeah. So I am very happy with that as my answer to the quiz.
Cool. Well, congratulations, Mr. Han. All right, we have one more game to play. It's called This Ain't No 10-Second Race, a.k.a. Boy Do We Have a Podcast for You.
Boy, do we have a podcast for you. Come and check out our show. Yeah.
So this is where you go on twitter.com, a.k.a. The Bird app, find any tweet from anybody not following us that we don't know, and tweet at them saying, Boy, do we have a podcast for you. Customize the tweet however we want. A complicated scoring system that you don't need to worry about because it's impossible to score because no one interacts with us because I don't know why. It's just weird. But before we do this episode's tweets, we're going to look back at last time where we had Brian on for Fast and Furious. I found Lars Gottrich at Total Vibration, who was tweeting about his newsletter and said, bonus, I watched the first 5 Fast and Furious movies again. And then he replied to himself saying, I lost 4 subscribers this morning. I can only assume they do not appreciate the lizard brain genius of the Fast and Furious franchise. We said, we know you included this in a newsletter from a year ago, but we will always appreciate the lizard brain genius of the Fast and Furious franchise. Boy, do we have a podcast for you. And of course not. Lars did not interact. 0 points. Joe, you found Flair at Flair Titan, who said, finding out Roger Ebert was a big Fast and Furious fan is the best purely because I get to now say Roger Ebert was Tokyo Drift pilled. And we said we prefer our Tokyo Drift delivered intravenously. Boy, do we have a podcast for you. Nothing. Brian found Formula One at F1, the official verified account with millions of followers. And they just have a picture of Vin overseas giving a thumbs up. And we said, I guess Vin lives his life more than a quarter mile at a time. Boy, do we have a podcast for you. And of course not. That was a long shot. No points. But then playing for charity, Brian found a tweet from NJ MMA Insight OG fan who said, my favorite Fast and Furious bad guy, Braga. My favorite line, booze, broads, it's all good. That's from 4. It's a good line. You'll get there one day, maybe, Grant. Maybe. We said we don't have very many broads or any, but we definitely have a lot of booze. Boy, do we have a podcast for you. Joe, it got a like, which I think we talked about in the episode. So Brian gets no points, but Brian sends 1 point to charity. So charity 1 point richer in the grand scheme of things. Congratulations to charity. You have done a good thing once again. All right. Grant, you sent 2 tweets. Is there one that you like more? Do you want to play both? We'll play both, but pick one that you want as your official one, and then we'll do one as like a backup that we'll just do for our own show. But you sent 2. Is there one that you like more than the other?
I believe the second one, which was responding to a prompt that if you could turn any film keeping the same cast, director, and everything into an erotic film, which one would you choose? And they said Fast 5.
Oh my god. Okay.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I've talked about this with friends of mine. There's something so deeply unsexy about these movies, even though they are all about, like,
Yeah.
beautiful tan people, and especially, like, the ones that are set in, Latin America, like 5 is.
Oh yeah.
But there's still something about them that's just unhorny. So the idea of making it horny is intriguing to me.
They do feel very asexual
They
at
do.
times.
That's why they're
Yeah.
perfect dad movies.
Yeah. And Frog Mistress responds to her own tweet, just says, just that one. The rest can be sexless. So Grant, we will respond with Void of a Podcast for you. But is there a message that you want to send to Frog Mistress at Up the Twerks on Twitter? Anything you want to customize in our tweet to Frog Mistress about this response?
Huh. I guess I would be curious, assuming you're making Fast 5 into an erotic film, who are you pairing off?
Ooh.
Or is it kind of a big amorphous
Orgy.
Yes. Not quite who are you shipping, because I feel like this is not about that, but,
So I'm saying,
Yeah.
question for you, who's pairing off, or is it a big orgy? Boy, do we have a podcast for you. That is
Yeah, I think that's lovely.
that is
I
a
think that's
whip
great.
around. Godspeed.
The question play, we don't do that too often. I like that one.
No, yeah. That could be a slam dunk easy 5 points, because the Grant, the way that it works is a like is 1, retweet is 2, reply is 5, and if they email the show or whatever, it's crazy points. It's like 10 or more or whatever. And so we've never asked a question because it's just like, they could even just say like fuck off or whatever. It's like, that's 5 points, right? So like just
Yeah,
acknowledge us.
exactly.
Just Frog Mistress, we're out here for you. Let's talk about it. But do you want to read your other tweet that you found? That we'll play this one for charity.
Sure. The other tweet is from Kevin. He says, the only bad part of Fast 5 so far, which I guess must have mean that he was actively watching it at the time, which I didn't think about initially, is The Rock's goatee.
There you go. Yeah.
I don't really agree with, because, okay, one thing that we know, as long as, like, he lives, we'll never get any different Rock hairstyle.
Yes.
So
correct.
really the only thing that we get to see vary at all is the facial hair.
Yeah. If we want to keep the question thing going, how would you have styled his beard? Or how do you want to customize this tweet to Kevin at YeahOkayKev?
Yeah, I was thinking something along those lines, or like what hairstyle would you have given him to make the goatee work?
Oh.
I like that.
That's an interesting thought. Yeah, like a mullet.
Yeah, because it's quite.
Can you imagine The Rock with a mullet?
No, I cannot.
And
I mean, I
goatee?
can, but it doesn't. It's weird. It's weird.
Well, I mean, there's basically only like 3 photos of him with hair, and they're all from like his early. There's the famous turtleneck and chain photo where he's got hair, and there's like 3
He had
photos.
hair in wrestling, like very early in the Attitude Era. But it was, it was the same as like the chain turtleneck thing. It was just like boy hair of the '80s or whatever.
Yeah, and it's just fascinating to me to think of what anything. I mean, even the like old man professor ring of gray hair would look like on The Rock.
Exactly.
Does he have like a ponytail in the Scorpion King?
Yes.
Yeah, that's
I think
hilarious. So more of that, please.
But it's like bald. It's like the samurai, like I think bald on the top and like a ponytail, right? I don't remember.
No, I mean he
That's
has a
what I'm
large forehead. I think that's correct. That rules. Big fan of that.
All right, Joe. Who is your tweet from?
I think I hit a slam dunk here. This is from Carrie at Simply Charisma
Charisma, probably.
with 2 A's.
Yeah.
Just it's there's some pictures with it. It says just a boy in his car. For Christmas we gave Dominic Toretto's car, and we finally got it out of the box and took it for a drive. So I'm assuming this is like her child. And it says, and yes, we named him Dominic after legend Dom from the movie Fast and the Furious, since John and I are big fans.
You're once again
Wow.
continuing your Fast Furious big fan search, and I think this is a nice twist on that.
Yes.
I
So
do
I'll be
hold
like,
on. I do like that. When you interact with a tweet on Twitter, it's like here's other tweets that you might like. Now they're all sex workers because we got Frog Mistress over here. So like now it's just like all just OnlyFans girls like posting like, oh, here's me, howdy, yes or no, which is like okay. So that's Joe. You're now allowed to look at this Twitter account again because now it looks like your Twitter account.
thank you. Perfect.
All right. So how do you want to respond
I
to
enjoy
charisma?
sex workers. A couple that names their child after family is family to us. Boy, do we have a podcast for you and little Dom of like in parentheses eventually,
Cool.
and that's my tweet.
Love it. Grant, Joe has been trying this thing where he like just searches Fast and Furious big fan, and like sometimes it has worked tremendously, and other times it should work. That's the other thing. All of these should work. They just don't, and we don't know why.
If you name your son Dom,
Yeah.
you are our target demographic.
For sure.
Yeah.
That's so much cooler than like, the scores of people who like named their kids after like a Game of Thrones character.
Khaleesi.
Yeah.
That's the first thing I thought when you were starting to say this sentence.
Yeah. And they're out there.
Dude, in like 14 years, it's gonna be a wild ass time for like all the Khaleesi's and Khal Drogos that are just gonna be floating around like in the news and shit.
Really, just
And
call
I'm
call me
waiting for
Cal.
it.
I just go by Cal.
Yeah,
Oh, it says
yeah.
your name's Khaleesi. No, it's just Cal.
Yeah.
By the way, Grant, your tweet to charity just got a point. So your actual tweet has not gotten any points yet. But charity, once again, we're making a deposit of 1 point into the charity box because Kevin
Always charity.
he has not responded to the hairstyle tweet yet, but he liked the reply. So
I'll take it.
there you go.
And by I mean charity.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. I found a tweet from like a year ago. It's from Dan Hernandez, who's verified. He's got a bunch of followers, so I expect this to fall on deaf ears, at Cuban Missile DH. And he was quote tweeting the Fast Saga, tweeting at the trailer when the trailer launched last April.
Okay.
And Dan says, if I were Dom and my old friends wanted to visit, I'd be like, quote, I love you guys, but whenever you come over, we end up going on a world-spanning heist/adventure that is both fast and furious. So let's just set a weekly Zoom instead. Now, I like this tweet. I have not thought about how to respond to this, though. I'm wondering...
I would be like, do we really think Dom can use a computer? Because I doubt it.
Can you
Something
really
along those
picture
lines, right?
Dom using Zoom? What a podcast for you. I was also thinking about like something like, you could Zoom from a Tesla in like on the big screen, but like that's getting in the weeds. I like, can you really picture Dom using Zoom? We can't. So
Exactly.
cool. Well, Grant, thank you so much for joining us. This was a blast.
Yeah,
Thank you,
absolutely. Thank you guys for having me. I do have just one thing that I wanted to ask you two about.
Absolutely.
Please go for it.
So I'm sure you're aware of this. One of my favorite things on the internet for years has been the Vin Diesel official Facebook page.
Mm-hmm.
Have you guys gone down the rabbit hole of looking at all of Vin Diesel's profile pictures of the last 10 to 12 years?
I have not. What I thought you were going to ask
just
about...
the profile pictures.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, what I thought you were going to ask
No.
about is something that I've brought up here before, is that when Riddick was #1 at the box office, he posted a 9-minute video of him recorded on, like, his MacBook camera or something, and dancing to Dark Horse by
Yes.
Katy Perry and one other
Yep.
song. And it's just him just over the moon at how successful his movie was. And that's an absolute treat. And that's on his official Facebook page. So I know that there's a treasure trove of content over there, but I've not... Is there a particular Facebook profile
Oh my
picture of
God,
his
no,
that you
this-
love?
I am
is glorious.
DMing you guys a couple. I know this is like terrible podcasting, but I'm sending you guys a couple because they're incredible. And
These are from his official page?
has like
Yes.
1.8
Oh, yeah.
million likes or
Oh, yeah.
followers.
I just found all these as I was going through. Yes, these are real.
These look like fan page.
They're not.
They
Boy.
there was a point that I think I've told this story before, but like, do you guys remember Rihanna on Twitter, like back when
Yes.
Twitter was amazing? And she would post like chainmail text message gifs that you would like get. They're just like, we're just like the like, the most random, like, Hello Kitty blinged out shit. Like, that's what these remind me of.
No, that's exactly right. It was from when celebrities on the internet were actually fun.
Yeah, like, and, like, somebody would, here, Happy Labor Day, and it's just, like, a star and a, oh, yeah, this is amazing. Thank you for introducing me to this.
Happy to do it. The one I just sent you guys is my favorite, which is an illustration of a horse running into the ocean with Vin's face in the clouds.
It's so good. You did send these in a way that, like, each is better than the previous one. Like the father,
oh, yeah, they escalate.
Protector, nourisher, upholder.
2 days to the Super Bowl? Who counts down to the Super Bowl 2 days away? That's with your own face. Like, who made that? And why did he find
like,
it?
You know how, like, Facebook will often be like, add this, like, add I stand with Ukraine to, your profile picture. Like, it's not, they're not, this is not a Facebook filter.
No, none of these are like overlays that exist.
I also love him boxing against Popeye for some reason. Hey, strong man, let's play. But yes, the horse in the cloud, it's
kind of endearing. This is definitely stuff that, like, people in countries that aren't America made and posted on Twitter, Instagram, and he found them and was like, you know what, that was cool of you, fan, and then, like, used it as his profile.
Well, because he has in a lot of these, like, names, right? Like, it's Maria Roman, or it's Ollie Van Dyke or whatever. Like, it's people, like, he's giving credit to these artists who were just doing weird Vin fan art.
Paint in MS Paint pictures.
Man.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
And they've got a really wide range they've got Muhammad Ali quotes, they've got Gandhi quotes, they've got this very broad range. And I think you're exactly right that it's people who love Vin making these little graphics, and then he's posting them. There's an Andrew Carnegie quote on one of these. It's I just remembered it while we were taping the show, and I'm so glad I brought it up because I'm sure you guys will make great use of it. It is one of my favorite things on the internet.
And then half of them are the same
wonderful.
picture over and over again, which is his standard picture. So he's uploaded this like 100 times at this point.
Oh, the one that's the current one of him looking down and smiling?
Yeah,
that's probably up there like 30 times.
Insane.
See, he definitely can't use Zoom. The tweet was perfect. This guy has no idea what he's doing.
I don't believe so.
Oh, man, I love it. Well, anyway, thank you so much for joining us once
Thank
again.
you, Grant.
What would you like people to know about you? Where can they follow you? Where can they read your work? What do you want to plug about what you're doing on the internet?
Not too much. You can follow me on Twitter at Grant Rindner. That's where I write my little articles, and then I post them. That's really it. Thank you guys for having me. This was great. I'd love to come back in the next cycle. I don't know if you do repeats, but
Oh, we absolutely do repeats. So you can come
We
on like a
do.
non-Fast and Furious movie. We got nothing but time, nothing but options for you. So we will definitely keep you in the proverbial hopper and have you back on because this was a blast.
okay, right on. All right, thanks guys. Appreciate it.
So, Joe, next week we are doing a patron pick. We're doing Michael McGann's pick of Muppets Most Wanted, which I have not seen, but apparently it's a heist movie. So
You've never seen it?
No.
Oh my god, I'm excited.
I've seen
the Muppets movies are a ton of fun.
I've seen Muppet Babies when I was growing up. I don't know that I've really seen Muppets just legit, so...
Yeah, these are a blast. I think that you actually really might... The Muppets movie, the Muppets Most... They're fun.
Yeah.
Oh, man, I'm really excited. Wow. Okay, cool.
So
Good
Muppets
pick.
Most Wanted coming at you next week. We also got our Patreon bonus episode of Thief coming at you next week. We've not done that yet. We're going to do that soon. So that'll come to our patrons at toofast2forever.com. But for all things Too Fast, Too Forever, go to cageclub.me, facebook.com/toofast2forever, or at toofast2forever on Twitter and Instagram. Email us, family@cageclub.me. Check out our Patreon page at toofast2forever.com and our store, toofast2forever.shop, and come back next time for Muppets Most Wanted. I'm Joey Lewandowski,
I'm Joe, too.
and that was Grant Rindner, and we'll tell you all about it
When we see you